4 out of 22 candidates are women. It's still a very low number, but some progress has been made. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. I think we need more women, at least if they were about 8.
Yeah.
Yes. Ideally, we would require that they be half of those candidates, so that when the elections are over, we are able to tell exactly which positions they would be occupying. And we wouldn't like to see them occupying positions that deal with, for instance, the family only, that deal with the family only. We need to see them occupying positions like Minister of Defense, Deputy Minister, Deputy Chairperson, Chief Whips. You know, we need those women to be in those positions. Yeah.
And the reason, part of the reason for that is because women do carry such a heavy load in their various communities.
Yes.
Women take so many responsibilities, and yet that heavy load that they carry back in their communities is not reflected in the government.
That's the problem that we also experience here in South Africa. Parties themselves, political parties, we tend to have a discussion with them that women do a lot. They are the majority in terms of population statistics, and they play very prominent roles in terms of also socializing other women folk to be in a position to occupy those positions of power. But in many instances, it's actually the political parties themselves which determine whether or not women will be given positions that have more political power. Yes. But ideally, women, not even ideally, women carry the burden of the family. And when it comes to issues around governance, in many instances we find that through patriarchy that they are being undermined. And unfortunately, sometimes it's the women themselves who undermine themselves. That would say...
Or each other.
Yeah, or each other. And they would say, no, I would like to see a man being my senior. So there's a lot of political work that needs to be done on the ground to empower women to be in a position to understand that half as much as our men folk, we believe that they've got those powers of governance, so are the women.
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
But given where Zimbabwe is at now, 4 out of 22 candidates are women in these elections. How far are we still from having the discussion around when Zimbabwe will have a female president?
Oh, it's going to take time. However, we believe that Zimbabwe, as part of the SADC region, we are all governed by laws and policies. We have all adopted, for instance, the CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Those are international instruments. For instance, other instruments like Beijing Platform for Action. Those are instruments that pin us down, and not only internationally, but also locally in Africa. We have got the African Union, the SADC protocol, and the African Union. And those articles themselves, they actually reinforce the fact that all persons have the right to vote. And if we vote, I mean, that is your tool for determining whether or not you want to see laws that will make your lives better. And those laws talk about combating discrimination. And I mean, we come from a history whereby women have always been discriminated against. But I believe through the international community, because they are part and parcel of a SADC region and the African Union, with time, I think with time, we need to give Zimbabwe the time for them to be able to ensure that this democracy is actually enhanced in the country, And we want to see civil organizations, civil society organizations playing a very important role, and the international community. I mean, they are almost in the same phase as when we started as South Africa. So it's a question of giving them the opportunity to be able to embrace this democracy.
So you're saying let's first let these elections take place. Let's see whether Zimbabwe's economy can get back on track, and then we deal with all of the other outstanding issues.
Yes, and there must be a lot of civic...
But is there enough pressure on Zimbabwe when it comes to gender parity in government? If you look at organizations like SADC, like the African Union, is that a priority for them?
I think with political will, that political will is the one that would determine. I mean, we come from an era whereby people only knew the ousted president. Most of the people have never even understood what is to vote, like what we experienced in 1994 in the country here. So democracy is something that really, it takes time, and if there is political will, the political parties themselves are the ones who are supposed to play a very important role to ensure that they educate people about what is democracy, and the women's organizations of those political parties are the ones who are supposed to stand up firmly and say, we want to see women progressing.
And the men's organizations as well, they should be as vocal about having gender parity.
Yes. For instance, if you look at our South Africa here, women, local government elections, women do not participate well, especially in wards, because that is where they are supposed to stand on their own and say, I am standing for this particular ward. They perform very badly. But in the PR system, it is the political parties themselves that say, we are taking a stance whereby we are going to ensure that our women are actually being promoted. And it's through the 50-50 gender representation and the PR system itself. Those things. So if the political will is there, definitely. And of course, the international community, as I had said, and grassroots women are supposed to be playing a very important role to ensure that democracy is alive. And
absolutely. Well, thanks very much for coming into studio as we talk about gender balance in Zimbabwe, as of course that country heads to the polls today. Vernet Napo is from the Commission for Gender Equality.